In the Bible, in the Gospels, we read the story of how Jesus went to see John the Baptist at the River Jordan and was baptized at the River Jordan. And when that happened, when he was baptized, the heavens are opened and the voice of God comes and speaks and says, here's my son, my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. The Holy Spirit comes on him in power. And it's a moment of glory, and closeness and a really mountaintop kind of experience. And then immediately, the very next thing that happens, it says, and then the Holy Spirit led him into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And in the wilderness, the only voice he heard was the voice of the devil. But when he got to the other side of the wilderness, then it says he returned to Galilee in the power of the Spirit. And there's a certain reality that those who follow Jesus, and particularly those who aspire to the fullness of what the Holy Spirit would have for them, must also go through the wilderness. That he will lead us into the wilderness. If you're going to be a disciple of Jesus, and a follower of Jesus, you got to follow him everywhere. So you're going to be in the wilderness. There will be wilderness experiences. And in the wilderness, it can almost seem that God's abandoned you, like you don't hear him. But in fact, he's still there. He's just not speaking. You're being tested, really, in a certain sense. And that's what happened with Jesus. Jesus is being tested. And what was he tested about? He was tested about, would he believe what he had just heard at the River Jordan without proving it some other way? Would he be faithful to the Scriptures and to obedience to the Father when there was nothing else to support it? Would he be faithful? Would he believe? And it's very important when you're in the wilderness not to doubt what's happened before. You've got to hang on to it. You've got to be faithful to it. You don't doubt in that moment. Or another way to say it is, never doubt in the darkness what you've seen in the light. You have the moment and you're in the light and you've heard from God and God's visited you and he spoke to you. Well, later on, it's not going to feel the same. It's not going to be experienced the same, but that doesn't mean it's not still true. In my own life, I've had a couple experiences of being in the wilderness. And the most recent one, I went through 3 years where I didn't hear from God at all. And that was really challenging because I'm used to kind of hearing from him all the time. But for 3 years, nothing. Didn't hear from him. And the question was, would I be faithful with what I knew already? What I knew from what he had done in my life, what I knew from the Scriptures, would I be faithful to that without any other support? And after 3 years, it ended and it lifted. And things were restored, except they weren't just restored. There was more power. There were new giftings that I received that I hadn't had before. So what I want to challenge you about is that if you're following Jesus and you come into a wilderness time, Just understand that's what you're doing. You're in the wilderness. It's not that you've lost your faith. It's not that God's abandoned you. It's not that you were wrong about the past. It's not that you'd misheard God. It's not any of those things. It's just you're being tested. You're being tested for, will you have faith without extra support? Will you continue to be faithful even in that time? And if you can do that, if you can walk through that and be faithful and not give up and not go back and not doubt, there's a great reward that will come at the other end.